DOJ is going to take it on. We'll win the case, but I'm proud of that agent. The agent did exactly what he should have done. He took a dangerous person off the street, because he would have been released. He would have gotten bail. It's a sanctuary state, and the judge will lose this. And I hope the judge gets embarrassed on this.
And that is Border Czar Tom Homan taking a defiant stand over that heated case in Boston where an ICE agent detained this suspect during his trial last week. The top federal prosecutor there blasting the district attorney and judge who held that ICE agent in contempt. And joining us now is former Assistant U.S. Attorney and Fox News contributor Andy McCarthy. Here's what the U.S. Attorney in Massachusetts said to the DA in Boston, that the fact that you disfavor ICE officers doing their jobs is not a basis for criminal charges. In fact, there is no legal basis for such charges. Any attempt or threat to interfere with the lawful actions of federal government agents will not be tolerated. How did we get to this mess, Andy?
Well, I think we tolerated for too long, Dana, the idea that you could have sanctuaries in the United States. When they talk about sanctuaries or safe havens, what they mean you're insulated from is the enforcement of federal law. And the courts have been very clear that immigration enforcement is a federal responsibility. I'm not particularly crazy about that. I think there should be a state role for it. It should be pulling the oars in the same direction as the feds. But whether we like it or not, it's a federal responsibility. And if state officials interfere with it, they are holding themselves open possibly to even felony charges.
What the judge said on Monday is that it's a case of violating a defendant's right to present at trial and confront witnesses against him. It couldn't be more serious. So we will continue Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know, we have defendants who are in custody on trial all the time. You know, the fact that you're in custody doesn't mean that your right to present a defense has been in any way compromised. It's just absurd.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about Judge Boasberg and this continuing this fight between him and the Trump administration about these deportation flights. On Thursday, he said, "It seems to me there's a fair likelihood that that is not correct. In fact, that the government acted in bad faith throughout that day." Of course, that's the day that the gang members were taken out of the country. "If you really believed everything you did that day was legal and could survive a court challenge, I can't believe you ever would have operated the way that you did." How did it go this week for the Trump administration in this case?
Well, it's not going well on, you know, the potential contempt front, that's for sure. And I do think that Judge Boasberg is right about this. And what I mean by that is there's two things going on here, Dana. One is, can they do this? Does American law let them do this? I think the answer to that question is yes. The second thing, though, is, can you do it without connecting all the dots on the due process front? And the answer to that is no. And the judges are not going to look behind the national security and foreign relations decisions, but they are going to look at the way the government went about this. And the problem I think you have with the Justice Department is if they had looked Judge Boasberg in the eye and said to him, "Look, Your Honor, with all due respect, you don't have jurisdiction over planes in the air. This is a delicate national security and foreign relations matter, and you just don't have jurisdiction here." He wouldn't have liked that. And I can tell you it's very unpleasant as a prosecutor to make that kind of a disclosure to the judge. But Boasberg would have respected that. Instead, what happened is they played games with him about what they were doing, and he obviously hasn't forgotten that.
And let me ask you about this, because overall the question is, and from a bigger perspective, about judges being able to do nationwide injunctions. How do you feel about that?
I really think that the injunction should be confined to the parties that are before the court. And I know that means you could have a proliferation of cases, but to my mind, that would then get the case up to the circuit courts faster, which would be desirable, and ultimately to the Supreme Court. I think they have to figure out a way to confine the jurisdiction to the parties in the case and then more rapidly get these cases up to the circuit.
All right. Andy McCarthy, thank you. Have fun and tell your son hello.
Thanks,
and in
Dana.
his senior year there at the University of Chicago.
Always listen to Andy.
I listen and
Always.
read.
Thank you, Andy. I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.